Please remember that all the opinions in the show are those of the host and should only be taken as food for thought. We're in no way telling you to do anything. Everything is kept anonymous for the safety of the listeners and no information is shared to anyone else. If you are easily offended by people's opinions or views, then thank you for making it this far, but this is not the podcast for you, so see you later. And please enjoy the rest of the show. The triggering point of my last email has given me months of laughs. Sorry, Dan, but you're so easy to get going. So this is the person that said that Miller and Carter isn't a chain. Is a chain. I still bring this up when we go out to restaurants. I'm like, oh, do you remember the listener that doesn't think this is expensive?
Be brilliant if we get like a Miller and Carter like card given to us out of it. It'd be brilliant.
I'll be happy with that. But yeah, because I was going to try and make their onion loaf thing that they give you.
Yeah, that's banging.
I don't take any offense to it, unless obviously you're trying to offend me. But I know you guys aren't. I love being able to have little bits that I can bring back up in the later on episodes. So, yeah, I mean, I take no offense to you guys trying to wind me up. Saves feeling it from Jamie. So after the apologies, I have a question. I have been in love with a girl since high school, and we both live in a small town. We both work in the only hotel in town as well. So safe to say we spend a lot of time together. Both her and I have just come out of a long-term relationship in the past 6 months. Is that a sign of fate? Should I pursue the girl I've always longed for, or would it be jeopardizing everything in my life?
It's again, we've had a few of these. Like, there's two things here. They've been long-term friends, which you could be jeopardizing that friendship, and obviously they work together as well. For me to, if it was me personally, if I was to go anywhere with it, I would need like more confirmation that she's feeling that way back. I don't know how you'd figure that out without directly asking, but you're putting yourself out there a lot for what potentially could be she's already looking for another fella on Tinder.
This is the thing, right? Like, because this is similar to when we had the guy that was living with the woman.
And we said no, and then he did it anyway.
The friend zone escapee that we had.
Yeah.
There's now, hopefully he's still dating her. We haven't heard from him in a while. Yeah, it's hard to tell, man. Like, because like when you work together and sort of like think she could see you as like a brother and sister, which is the most heart crushing, ball stomping fucking thing to hear. I fucking used to hate that shit. Oh man, it's so hard because like if you say to him, you know, ask her, or why don't you just say, do you want to go out for a meal and like a sort of like a date? And then if everything's going well, you can ask her. You're still like, because you work together, it's not like if you upset a friend and you don't see them.
Yeah.
I mean, you end up working together at the same time as well. So it's such a fucking, because if you look at
I think if you're feeling that much for her, then I think you'd be silly not to pursue it and see what happens. I think you need to be coy about how you start it and maybe do what Dan said and like test the waters a little bit.
But I mean, he could be going out just them two anyway if they're friends for such a long time. It's just like because if you look at it in a separate, so he's got a friend he likes, and or like he's got someone he works. If he was someone he works with, I'd be like, don't go there.
Yeah,
because I've done that before and it don't work out. But then we've said many times before, you're with your wife now. You met at work. It's just
that's why it's always dependent on the situation, isn't it?
Yeah, and like knowing each other, and I like the easy question, like the air fry questions. I can answer them, and like,
well, that's why we're here, Dan. We've got a mixture of everything. If they want to know how to cook 6 Czech buns, then they could speak to you about that.
Yeah, it's all right. Dan's buns. In a perfect world, I'd like to say, you know, fucking go for it. And Jamie's right, like, because we've said before, like with mental health and stuff like that, like the feeling of always wondering is
drive you mad.
Yeah, it's just awful. And like life's too short for you not to go for something that potentially could be like an amazing thing.
There was times in the past when I made moves on girls that were going to stay at, like, there was a friend of one of my mate's girlfriends that I just tried it on anyway, because when I was single I didn't really give a shit, but I was young at the time, and I always put it down to that. And like I had a lot more confidence in myself as regards to my abilities to be able to get the girl or whatever. So I wouldn't even think that I would get rejected, if you know what I mean, at the time. But then once reality sets in, you realise that you're not going to get everyone that you go for. I think that kind of makes you realise, but you need to test the waters with people to be able to know whether it's right or wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If she's saying to you stuff like, "Oh, yeah, you're like a brother to me," or "We've been friends for such a long time," or etc., 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 that's like line in the sand. You know where she stands. But if she's saying stuff that's a little bit flirty and stuff like that, then just maybe even just say like, "What would you think about if we was actually going on a date?" And see what she says to it. When you're out for dinner anyway, you're basically on a date. She might already think that you're on a date.
So many
Do you know what I mean?
Jay. So many what ifs.
There's so many what ifs.
Never go out on a mate date and then just try and find out by kissing her.
No, because that's gonna fucking, even if she was starting to feel that way, that she'll probably still push you away anyway.
I think to myself, like, it's easier to come back from asking her how she feels about each other. You can come back from that, right? You haven't, but if you go in to kiss her and she returns your way, it's so hard to them unsee or undo that. Like, you can't.
I'd be like super inquisitive, man. I'd be like, "Oh, so what's your plans now that you split up with Terry or whatever the guy was, or whatever his name was? Or what are you doing now? Are you like working on yourself for a little while? Are you looking for something else?" See what she said. Her answers are back. Because she might be like, "I'm going to leave in 6 months. I'm going to go and travel somewhere," and then that's your answer done.
And then she's like, "Do you want to come with me?" And you're like, "In."
Yeah.
I mean, in there. They're always, if they broke up with someone, they're always going to be like, "Oh, I want to work on myself. I just want to be single for a little while."
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
Yeah, which is what I hate that as well. But then you don't want to become a rebound. There's so many fucking. I'm gonna just say, just fucking go for it. I need a bit of happiness today. And in my head, you're gonna say to her, "Let's go out on a date," and that's it. You two are gonna be together after that.
Let's hope. Fingers crossed.
That's what I want. That's what I want from this episode today.
And send us an email to tell us whether it happens or not.
Yeah. Keep us updated. And the listeners always like to. Didn't we get an email recently that was like asking about a previous email?
Yeah, there was. I think so. There was an email saying what happened to this person.
Yeah.
Because some people we never hear from again. Some people email us back constantly.
Yeah, for sure. I can think of a couple, which we always appreciate. It's good to know what's going on. Like, you give the advice and you try to be as honest and helpful as possible. And sometimes you just think to yourself, "Oh, did they take it? Did they not take it? What happened?"
And the advice we're throwing out there is off of like 2 paragraphs most of the time. It's not like we don't get a big host of information. No. So it's nice to see whether we were right in our thinking or not.
Yeah.